Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Will Julie Chrisley receive a reduced sentence or more? Julie Chrisley will be resentenced in a little over a week. As the court date approaches, many people are wondering if the Chrisley Knows Best star will receive a reduced sentence, or if she's looking at more time. Here's what has been revealed about Julie's vacated sentence and what she may be looking at next week. What led up to Julie's resentencing? Todd and Julie Chrisley were put on trial in May 2022. Ultimately, they were found guilty of bank fraud and tax evasion. Todd was sentenced to 12 years in prison, and Julie was sentenced to 7 years. They immediately began appealing the court's decision, but had to report for their respective prison sentences in January 2023. In September 2023, they both received a reduction in their sentences. Todd's sentence was knocked down to 10 years. Julie's original sentence was reduced by 14 months. However, in the Court of Appeals this summer, Julie Chrisley's sentence was vacated when it was determined there wasn't sufficient evidence to tie her to any crimes before 2007. Some of what they were tried and sentenced for occurred in 2006. So she was scheduled to be resentenced with a hearing on September 25 in Atlanta. Since the news broke, many people have been trying to figure out if Julie Chrisley is going to be released early. Her daughter, Savannah Chrisley, has been pushing for her parents to come home and has been optimistic about the outcome of the upcoming hearing. Julie Chrisley could face more time in prison. Someone wrote an in-depth post about Julie's current sentence and what the resentencing might mean for the Chrisley Knows Best star. It was shared on Reddit, where fans discussed the possibility of her sentence being reduced again or potentially even tacking on more years. Julie Chrisley didn't receive a harsh sentence. It was actually substantially below what the government recommends for the level of offense. She initially received a sentence of 84 months, which is well under the PSR's pre-sentence investigation report guideline range of 235 to 293 months. It is also significantly less than the government's recommendation of 121 to 151 months. In fact, it is possible that Julie might receive time tacked onto her sentence at this point. The Chrisleys have been making a lot of waves since they reported for prison. As one Reddit user pointed out, they have pissed off the judge who gave her a substantially decreased below the government suggested. The person continued, saying that this is likely why Julie wasn't permitted to attend the hearing via Zoom. They retaliate if they are complaining instead of admitting their guilt. It's a resentencing. The judge can give her more time to meet the guidelines, they wrote. At the end of the day, the only way Julie Chrisley would truly be looking at less time is if the threshold of the crime was moved. However, because it's only a year that she wasn't involved, it is unlikely to move the needle under the $9.5 million mark. As the gates clanged shut behind her at Federal Medical Center Lexington, Julie Chrisley's life took a dramatic turn from glitz and glamour to cold, regimented routine. The former star of Chrisley Knows Best traded culture for khakis and reality television for reality period. But as time ticks slowly forward behind those walls, one question simmers not only in the minds of her family and fans, but also deep in Julie's own heart. Will I get a reduced sentence, or will more time be stacked onto the years already slipping away from me? Julie's attorneys have worked tirelessly since her conviction, dissecting the court's handling of the case. They argue the evidence was tainted, the sentencing too harsh, and the motives of key players biased. Meanwhile, Julie has maintained her innocence with a quiet strength. She's no longer the quick-witted matriarch calling the shots from a luxury kitchen, but a woman in solitude, reflecting on the events that placed her behind bars. Prison has not dulled Julie's mind, it had sharpened her spirit. She's become a source of inspiration for many inside, leading Bible study groups and mentoring younger women who've lost their way. The staff have taken notice. So have advocates on the outside, some of whom believe her sentence, 7 years, was overly punitive for someone they argue was more caught in the gears of Todd Chrisley's financial machinery than controlling it. Savannah Chrisley, her fiercely loyal daughter, has been at the front lines of public opinion. She's spoken out on podcasts, given exclusive interviews, and rallied support across social media, often accompanied by the hashtag #FreeJulie. In her words, Julie is a mother first, a wife second, and a woman of God always. Savannah paints a picture of a woman who was not a mastermind of fraud, but a family anchor in the chambers of justice. Emotion only goes so far. The appeals process grinds forward slowly, and each day Julie waits feels like a gamble. Will the courts see the cracks in the prosecution's case? Will they consider her behavior since incarceration? Or will a procedural technicality stall her hopes once more? Adding complexity to the matter are whispers that the Department of Justice is not entirely done. Some insiders say prosecutors are looking into additional discrepancies from the Chrisleys' past ventures, including other financial dealings that didn't make it into the original trial. If any of these whispers manifest into action, Julie could be facing not a reduction, but additional charges that carry more time. That looming possibility haunts her even during her quietest moments. Sometimes, while walking the yard or folding laundry with the other inmates, Julie finds herself replaying the past. The filming days, the press tours, the extravagant spending that once felt like success, but now seems like a mirage. Could she have stopped it? Could she have asked harder questions? Should she have walked away? But these thoughts, though persistent, don't define her days. Julie has immersed herself in rehabilitation and education programs. She's written letters to fellow inmates' families. She's even begun drafting a memoir, not one of self-pity, but of hard lessons learned in hard places. In a recent note to Savannah, she described her days as slow but meaningful, and signed off with, "No matter what the court decides, I'll keep growing." Inside the courtroom, the appeals argument hinges on whether Julie had full knowledge of the tax evasion schemes or whether she was blindly signing documents as a supportive wife. Her attorneys argue the latter. They claim Julie was manipulated, and that evidence proving her lack of intent was dismissed prematurely. The prosecution, meanwhile, continues to frame her as a willing participant, part of a lavish lifestyle built on deception. Legal experts are divided. Some say the appeal has merit, particularly due to shifting sentencing norms for white-collar crimes. Others argue that even if her sentence is reduced, it won't happen quickly, and the government may still pursue restitution or other penalties. There's also the unpredictable wild card, the possibility of compassionate release. Julie's ongoing health concerns, rumored to include a recent cancer scare, could position her as a candidate for early release under certain humanitarian standards. But that route is rarely straightforward and often contentious. In the court of public opinion, however, the tide seems to be turning. Supporters write to her weekly. Fans have created online petitions. Even some skeptics who once mocked the Chrisleys now admit Julie's quiet grace in prison has surprised them. One former critic even tweeted, "If anyone deserves a second chance, it might be Julie." Still, Julie doesn't allow herself to get too hopeful. She prays, she writes, she waits. She listens for her name during mail call. She looks forward to family visitation days, especially when Chloe or Grayson can make the trip. The joy in their eyes, the warmth of their hugs, those are the things that keep her grounded more than any potential ruling. Back in Nashville, Todd waits too, serving his own sentence. Rumor has it the two still exchange frequent letters. coded in subtle ways to bypass prison censorship, full of scripture, longing, and the ache of lost time. Their marriage, though strained by circumstance, remains unbroken. Julie continues to wear her wedding ring. In the end, whether Julie Chrisley receives a reduced sentence or more time depends not only on legal argumentation, but on the intricate, often contradictory dance between justice, public perception, and the mysterious wheel of fate. But one thing is clear. Julie is no longer just the reality star behind a glossy smile. She is a woman reshaped by hardship, rooted in faith, and ready for whatever verdict comes next, be it freedom, more time, or something entirely unexpected.